Hello YouTube, it's Haley again. Late video, it's like 8:33 Central Time in Missouri. I wanted to talk about like my pregnancy, how that went and everything. I just thought it would kind of be something to talk about. And I noticed that I had my comments off on here due to my last channel. I had turned it off. But I will turn the comment section back on. Hopefully I can figure that out, but we'll see. But basically, I wanted to talk about how everything went. I delivered, my due date was August 30th, and I had him June 29th. He was 9 weeks early. He was in the NICU, but he came home August 11th. He is almost 4 months old. The 29th, he'll be 4 months old. Crazy enough. Wow. That's crazy. I just now realized, yeah, 4 months old he'll be this month. But, basically, it was a Friday. I think it was like the 25th. I started having contractions at work. I thought it was just Braxton Hicks. So I was like, oh, it's fine. It's just Braxton Hicks. Well, this is my first pregnancy. And so I didn't really think much of it. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you're going to have them closer to time and stuff. It's normal. Well, then I started like getting it in my back, and like I only had an hour left of work, so I just ignored it. And then a coworker of mine, I had asked her, I said, listen, I think something's like really wrong. And she's like, just put your feet up, relax, you know, everything will be fine. It's probably just Braxton Hicks. I was like, okay, yeah, that's what I thought. And so she said, if you have any concerns, just, you know, call your doctor. I was like, okay, all right. I go home closer to 6 o'clock, and my contractions are starting to get stronger. Dumb me, I'm still ignoring it. I'm like, oh, it's fine, it's probably just false, da 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 da. And so I think I took a total of like 3 warm baths to try and stop my contractions, because that's the only thing that was soothing me. So around like 11 p.m. Central Time, I call my mom, and I'm like, you know, it's really early because I'm only 30 and a half weeks, and I think I'm having contractions. And she's like, no, it's probably just Braxton Hicks. How close are they? I was like, they're about like 30 minutes apart. She's like, yeah, you don't need to go in unless it's like 5 minutes apart. Well, not even like 45 minutes later, they're like 5 minutes apart, 4 minutes apart, and then like minutes apart. Okay, so the hospital we go to is 30 minutes away from where we're at. So we get there, and they're having me fill out all this paperwork. Okay, oh, by the way, this was at 1 o'clock in the morning when I finally went to the hospital. And we get there, and they're having me fill out this paperwork, and I'm like, I'm having contractions. What are you doing? Why am I still sitting here? Why? I need to go. And so they're like, all right, we just have a couple more papers. You don't feel like you need a push or anything, right? I was like, no, but like, get me back there. Like, this is too early. And so we get there. They put me in a room. And then all of a sudden, they're like, oh, your centimeter dilated. We have to try and stop your labor. I'm like, okay, well then my husband and I are like freaking out because I'm only 30 and a half weeks. And so we're laying there, and even I forgot the kind of medicine they put me on. But it was trying to stop my labor, and even with that medicine, you know, I had an IV here, an IV here, an IV here. Like, it was, I know. And I had blood drawn every 6 hours. I hated it. And I was was in the hospital until I think like July 1st, I think, because I had him on the 29th and I went home a couple days later. And I think that was the hardest part. But anyways, that's a little bit of a ways back. But anyways, so we're at the hospital and then I had contractions like all night. Like they were not stopping. I didn't have an epidural or anything because I didn't want any drugs unless it was real and if I was going to have him. So I didn't want anything. I didn't want anything if I was just going to be sent home the next day. So the next day, which it was 1 a.m, so Saturday, contractions started to slow down a little bit, so I was okay. But I was still having them. They were not stopped completely. And then Saturday night, yeah, so technically Sunday morning, 4 a.m. It was like 3:30, 4 a.m. My contractions were closer together and they were stronger again. And they weren't going to check me again. They said they didn't want to, they said if they do that, it'd irritate it and then cause me to go into labor again. But they did. And oh my gosh, you're 3 centimeters dilated. So they called the ambulance and I had to be transferred because the hospital that I was at, they don't deliver under 34 weeks. So then I'm laying there, I'm shaking and everything, and I was nervous and everything. So they transferred me to another hospital that was 30 minutes away from that hospital. So it was an hour away from home. And so they transferred me there, and so that was a Sunday. And Sunday night, my contractions had slowed down, and then Monday they stopped. And then they started up again around 10 p.m. Well, Monday they were like, okay, you might go home on Tuesday. You might go home tomorrow if you don't have any more contractions or anything. I was like, yeah, I feel good. So I texted my boss. I was like, all right, well, I'll probably be going back to work tomorrow. And he goes, no, you need to stay home. You need to rest and everything. I'm like, no. He was giving me 3 months off so I can be with him, and I didn't want to use that 3 months unless I was home with my baby. I didn't want to be on bed rest and use my 3 months up and not have him in my arms. And I worked at a desk, so it's not like I was doing a bunch of running around. I can limit what I could do. So after that, I had texted him and everything, and he's like, no, I guess you could do what makes you happy and just take care of yourself. We'll see you tomorrow, whatever. Yeah, that did not happen. Not even an hour after that, I started having contractions again, and I had called my mom. I was like, Mom, so my husband was still working during these days. I made him go to work and everything. I didn't want him there because we still needed to make some money. And so he would come back each night and be with me, and then he made it for the delivery and everything because my mom had called him. But my mom had came back and stayed with me because I had told her to go home since I was going to be going home the next day. So I was like, oh, I'll be fine. I can just stay here by myself. And so when I called her, it was around 7 p.m. I was like, listen, I'm having contractions again. Can you come stay with me? And she came and stayed with me, and she's like, okay, this is probably nothing. It's probably just whatever. And she kept telling me, he's coming, girl. He's coming. You ain't keeping him in there. I was like, okay, Mom, whatever. But after that, it was 10 o'clock. They started getting closer together. And so my mom was like, okay, I'm going to take a nap in between contractions. No, right when she would close her eyes, I'd have another one. I'm like, Mom. I was like, no. And then around, I believe it was, okay, so I had him at 5:15 a.m., I believe. And so we didn't sleep at all. So we didn't sleep Monday. We had woke up at 6 a.m. Monday, and I didn't sleep the entire day or that night. So I was up until like 6 a.m. I was up for 24 hours basically. And so my mom was trying to take naps in between, but she couldn't. And then around midnight, they were still stronger, and the nurses were coming in, and they still would not check me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, well, I was 4 centimeters. I'm like, okay, you're 4 centimeters, you're fine. You know, we're still going to continue to try and stop. But I'm like, okay, impossible. I was like, I've been here for how many days, and the contractions are not stopping, and when they do, it's only for a little bit. So when my contractions stopped, it always came back. Well, after this, so it was what, Monday night. I had him at 5:15 Tuesday in the morning. So I'm like all over the place right now. But my mom, they wouldn't let her go to the delivery room with me. My mom had called my husband. My husband works in the morning. He goes to work at, he usually wakes up at like 4:30 in the morning to go to work. Well, my mom called him at like, it was like 3:30 or 4 a.m. and called and was like, listen, you need to get here. You're going to be a daddy. And so he got there perfectly in time. I finally was getting an epidural because, like I said, I didn't want to get an epidural unless it was real. Which I got the epidural late. It did not work. When I got the epidural, I was already 8.5 centimeters dilated. So like, and my mom, she dilates like that. So it's like when she dilates, she's going. Like she's having that baby that day. And she has 6 kids. I'm the oldest of 6. And the youngest is 4. Right? He's 5. Oh my gosh, he's 5. My brother is 5. That's crazy. Okay. Well, anyway. I am so tired. I am ready for a nap. I didn't realize the story was going to be so long. Okay, but anyway, so he got there, getting my epidural. And so this hospital is a training hospital, which I had no idea. They're training people to do what they're doing. And so I'm sitting there, I'm bent over, getting the epidural. My mom's sitting down on the floor on a chair. And I have my hands on her shoulders, and she has her hands on my legs, trying to keep me still. Well, then the lady behind me, she's doing my epidural, and, you know, she's kind of talking about what she's doing, and she puts the needle in, and, like, I could feel it grinding against my spine. And I go, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I hear her go, Doc, I don't know if I got this in right. And I'm like, oh. It's like, what? And then she goes, I'm sorry, honey, she's training you to be okay. And I'm like, this is probably something you should have told me at the beginning, because I'm a first-time mom going through a terrible experience, and you're going to have someone training to do this? No. So she's continuing to do it, and I could still feel it, like, going in and everything, needle and all. She's like, oh, you should only feel the needle, you shouldn't feel the rest. I'm like, no, I can feel it. It's grinding against my spine right now on the right side. Thank you. And so, and I don't want this to scare any new moms. So please, if you're watching this, everybody has their own experience. I just had a traumatic one. It was not a good experience for me, but hopefully it'll be a good experience for you. But let me tell you what, it's all worth it. It really is. Now I lost track where I'm at again. Okay, epidural, got that in. And then so they're laying me back down. Husband just got there, and then not even seconds later they go, okay, we need to get a doctor in here, like she's ready to go. My water was not broke yet. They would not break my water, which we still have no idea why, because they wanted to keep him in there as much as possible with him being so early. So I had him at 31 weeks in a day, 31 and 1. So they were trying to keep him in there. And also, I had 2 shots before this to help, like, his lungs and everything. I forgot what that was called, but I had one at the first hospital, and then the second one the second hospital. So after that, they had brought me into the OR, which I was already in a delivery room, but they brought me into the OR just in case I had to have a C-section, which thank the Lord I did not, because my epidural did not work. Which obviously they probably would have made sure it was working before they did my C-section, but I ended up not needing one because he was head down and everything. So I was in there, husband was in there, poor guy, he almost passed out. I felt so bad for him. All of a sudden, after Lucas was born, he had the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck and belly. He was not breathing out first. And so I was laying there and I'm like, is he okay? Is he okay? And like I'm crying and everything. I'm like, I don't hear him crying. Like, what's going on? Is he okay? So they bring him over there, and then finally I hear a little whimper. It was the cutest little thing ever. I was like, oh my gosh, was that him? I'm like, duh. He was born at 3 pounds, 5 ounces. He was in the NICU for a month and a half. He came home, he was born June 29th and came home August 11th. He is almost 4 months old, like I said. He was on oxygen for a little bit. Sorry, my dogs are barking. He was on oxygen for a little bit. I think the biggest thing was him keeping his weight up and everything. He had a feeding tube, and then we nursed and everything, and that just wasn't working out for me there because I think I was under so much pressure. I just wanted him out there. And also when I had delivered him, we had found out what the cause may have been as to why I delivered early. So this is TMI, so if you don't want to hear it, I would stop this video right here. My placenta, after I delivered Lucas, usually you have to push to get your placenta, to deliver the placenta. Mine, right after Lucas was delivered, came out right after him. Like it just went. Well, that is because that's something I skipped. At Liberty Hospital, we found out that I had preeclampsia. So when I was transferred to the other hospital, and when I delivered, my blood pressure is usually like 120. My blood pressure before I delivered and everything was always around 160, which is not good. So they were trying to give me medicine to calm me down and everything. And like I was calm, it was just my contractions and everything and my preeclampsia. So the reason why they think I delivered early, and they said because of this, they would not have been able to stop my labor. No matter how much they tried, they wouldn't have been able to. So what they said was my preeclampsia caused my placenta to rupture. My placenta ruptured and was rubbing against my cervix, causing me to dilate, which is why I was having contractions. So that is why I delivered early. So preeclampsia, ladies, when you have that, take very good care of yourself. But if there's no guarantee as to why you deliver early, it's not your fault. Don't think it is, because that's one thing I did was I blamed myself. I was like, I don't know what I did. I took my prenatal vitamins every single morning. I drank water all day, every day. I drank so much water, like I never have before. I didn't have caffeine, and if I did, it was 1 cup. I went for walks. I did whatever I could to take care of myself. So do not blame yourself. And I don't want this to scare anyone because my son is doing so good now. Like, he continued to do good. And I was told the smallest baby they've dealt with was under a pound. My little guy was 3 pounds, 5 ounces. And he's thriving now. What the hell do you want?
You want to put him down for
Bad word, don't say that.
You ready to put him down for bed?
Yep, I will. Oh, wait, has he had his bottle yet? Okay, he'll need to eat before he goes to bed. I'll be up in a second. He was born at 3 pounds, 5 ounces, and he just had his pediatrician appointment. He is 10 pounds, 9 ounces now. And I nurse. His milk is fortified. Some of his bottles are fortified and some is just breast milk. But just wanted to let you moms know that even if you deliver early, stay strong. Because you will be okay. NICU nurses know what they're doing. They've been doing it for a while. They went to school for that. And make sure you take care of yourself. Because that is one thing that I wish I would have done was I spent so much time in the NICU because every time I would leave, I felt so guilty. So I mainly slept at the NICU. So just remember to take care of yourself and be strong. So that's all I have for you today. I gotta put my son to bed, feed him, and do our nightly routine with him. It's really late. He had a shot today, so we were just letting him sleep before we fed him. But I'm gonna go upstairs and do that, and I will try and get my comment section back up so you guys can comment. If you are a NICU mom, let me know in the comments, or if you're expecting, or if they told you you might deliver early, or if you have delivered early, let me know your experiences in the comments. I would love to hear. That's one thing that I liked about the NICU is I met other NICU moms and we talked about it and we became close with each other. And that's one thing that I really liked, was having other people there with me. So just like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Alrighty, you guys have a good night. It is now 9 p.m. Central Time. So this is going up late. Good night.